Okay, what's going on, everybody? It's Jay the ENTJ back for another video. And this video is going to be about introverted intuition, my auxiliary function. Okay, I did a video on extroverted thinking, which is my dominant function, a little while ago. So anybody who hasn't checked that out, check it out, and you'll see, my description of extroverted intuition straight from a real live ENTJ. All right, so you got it here first. Now, this is introverted intuition. I'm going to try to go through all of my, four, main functions. So next, I think will be extroverted sensing, and then introverted feeling, and how, they operate from my perspective. So obviously, it's going to be a little bit different because these are not my dominant functions. They're going to be different in me than how they would be from someone who dominates with those. No exception with the introverted intuition, which is my auxiliary function. So anybody who's an INTJ or an INFJ looking at this is going to be much more powerful for you, and how you're able to perceive things and process information is going to be different than me. Okay, because the introverted intuition more or less really complements my extroverted thinking. But either way, as far as I understand it, introverted intuition basically is just, when are able to make connections and, process patterns of information, and, and take them in, you know, turn them into something usable or what have you. It's really a mysterious, mystical type thing. It's much more difficult to really grasp than sensing. Sensors, it's obvious what it is that they do. They use their five senses to take in information, and that's how they end up, making decisions or whatever based on the information that they take in through their senses. Whereas introverted intuitors, on the other hand, are just making these connections, and they're processing patterns, okay, and they're using all that information, okay, to come to a decision, okay, and it's a really, really, mercurial thing, and but I like having it though because it's so different. It's so different. Like when I was in school, especially college, people would study and things of that nature, and they would, say oh man, I was studying for 3 hours or whatever, and this, that, and the other. I studied all night. I stayed up till this amount of time, and I'm like, oh yeah. They're like, what do? You get pretty good grades and everything. Like, what do you do? I want to study with you. I said, well, I mean, studying with me probably wouldn't help you too much because I don't really study. My studying really is just going to class. Because if I go to class and I know that the teacher is teaching from the text, I don't have to read. I don't have to go back then and waste time, well, what I call wasting time, reading material that I already have absorbed, okay, and have already comprehended in the class. You know, I don't have to go back and get extra details that I don't need. The only time I read is if I miss a class or if the teacher isn't teaching from the text and I have to read at that point. But even then, okay, I only read things that I feel like are relevant. So that cuts down on the amount of time spent because I'm not going to go over things that I've already learned unless I just truly don't understand those things. So I just focus on those and then I get out of there because I've got other things to do because, I've got a life to live and I've got other subjects, or at least I had other subjects. I'm not in college anymore, but, so that's what I would do. And people will be fascinated, like, man, you really don't study? I said, well, in a manner of speaking, I do, but it's more, of an interactive variety because I come to class. I come to class, I sit, close to or in the front, whatever. If the class is small enough, I may sit in the back, but if it's big, I try to sit towards the front or something like that. And then I just get it that way, and that's the studying that I've done, you know, and it works for me. It doesn't work for everybody, so that's why I wouldn't advocate, everybody try to do that because I don't think, everybody can do it necessarily, So do what works for you, but that's how I was able to get through, through school and everything like that. But introverted intuition is great, if you're an entrepreneur, okay, because you have foresight, Okay, you have big picture thinking ability. You're able to see far into the future, down the road. Okay, you can actually, conceptualize, benefits and detriments. Okay, and you can make decisions based off of that information. You can take an idea. Okay, you can apply, whatever you need to apply to it to see if it will work in reality. Okay, and then you can come to some kind of conclusion on whether it will be successful or not, and you can take a calculated risk. Okay, some people just can't do that because they can't see how it's going to work out. Especially if something like is totally different and unique, and really truly innovative. Okay, sensors especially, they get, you know, they really, are challenged by things that are really different and that, buck the system and go against tradition and things of that nature. And, they have a hard time being creative, you know, um, in the truest sense because they can't see how something, that hasn't been done before is going to succeed. Well, I'm here to tell you, as an introverted intuitor, okay, I'm able to do this, and I love it because, it keeps your mind open, okay? You become more open-minded, okay, and less prone to creative stagnation, okay, when you're able to think in a big picture capacity. So, introverted intuition, man, it's great, and I have a business, and without introverted intuition, I wouldn't be able to do it because it's a long shot type deal, but it's something that can work, if executed properly. So, it's just a situation where you have to like what you do or love what you do, hopefully, and then execute, take action to get the job done. And that's what it is, but you know, um, introverted intuition is the most difficult function probably to describe and to understand. But if you have it, you just know, you're really future oriented. You know, you can just see things about people and about situations and circumstances that other people just can't see. And it really is beneficial because you can stay out of certain situations, because you can see what the consequences are going to be. For example, if you take an extroverted sensor, okay, ESFP, ESTP, they're very impulse driven, okay, because they dominate, okay, with having to experience things. So if you put them in a room full of, drugs and alcohol, okay, well, they're going to have a hard time resisting those things because, they need to experience the situation in order to see whether it's going to be beneficial or not. Obviously, we know it's not, but for them, they're like, well, they need to see for themselves. Especially if their friends are having a good time doing those things, then they really have to try it. You know. Now, if you have introverted intuition, and probably extroverted intuition as well, but I'm speaking for myself because I have introverted intuition very high in my function order, auxiliary. You could be in a room full of cocaine, meth, crack, you know, heroin, alcohol, cigarettes, whatever the case may be, anything addictive that you can name, and you will not be tempted to touch it because you know what the consequences are, and those consequences will not be acceptable to you. Okay? So you're going to, not consume these products that are going to destroy your life. Extroverted sensors have a really hard time saying no because they need the experience. That's why extroverted sensors, they really need to be around a lot of positive people doing positive things because that'll keep them out of trouble. Because if their friends are doing negative things, guess what? They're going to be very prone to doing negative things, and then they become, addicted. They're very addiction prone. Okay. Luckily, introverted sensors are not necessarily very addiction prone. Now, it is possible that, introverted sensors can get caught up in thinking about the future a little too much and, lack the detail sometimes that you may have to have in some other areas. Okay, so with every strength comes a weakness, but I'm just speaking from personal experience that, introverted intuition in the auxiliary form, which complements my extroverted thinking, is something that I appreciate that I have, and I'm glad that I have it. You know, and for those of you who are ENTJs or ENFJs who also have auxiliary introverted intuition, tell me about your experience with having introverted intuition, okay, and how it has been beneficial for you. Because I'm assuming it's probably been more beneficial than not. But if there's some negative experiences you want to share, that's fine too. Also, INTJs and INFJs, if you want to share how introverted intuition, impacts your life because it's your dominant function, feel free to share. I'm always interested to know about it because it's so mystical, okay, and so unique and so elusive in its understanding that, people who have it, who are rare by the way, okay, really, 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 um, it would really, really be great if they would, share what it is that it does for them or how they interpret it themselves. So, that's introverted intuition, the way I see it from an ENTJ's perspective. Um, you know, comment, um, you know, make a video in response, whatever you want to do. But I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you very soon.